I never know how to start. Should I just go with hello?
Yeah, didn't you do hello? This is the Bedroom Brainiacs podcast. I'm Tyrice, your host.
Yes. Okay. Hello. You are once again tuned into the Bedroom Brainiacs podcast. I am Tyrice, your host, and I'm here today again with Julie.
Hi.
Today we have an interesting episode. Before we get into today's topic, I have a confession to make. When we started this, I had a thought in my brain. I thought to myself, I said, Self, you're going to make this podcast called Bedroom Brainiacs, and you're going to have a new episode every week. Are you going to actually have enough topics to fill an episode every week? What if you run out of ideas? There's only so many things you can talk about. Well, I'm convinced now that we will never, ever run out of topics as long as we want to do this, because something will always creep up. Something will always enter our universe that we can talk about. Today, we're going to talk about, tell a story about how this came to be. So, you sent me a text message.
I did.
And where did you find this article that you sent to me? Were you just Googling? Did it just show up in your algorithm? You have an interesting algorithm.
I do. As a sex educator and a sex therapist, your algorithms are interesting. Also, as a queer person who really loves sports and hip hop and Dungeons and Dragons, my algorithm just sort of goes, "What is happening?" and then throws stuff at me.
Funny you say that, because this has nothing to do with sports, hip hops, or Dungeons and Dragons.
That's true. It's true. I don't know how this happened. Maybe someone else I know posted about it. I genuinely think it was just kismet.
So, I was relaxing and I got a notification on my phone, and I saw the headline and just the preview window. And I clicked on it. I can't remember what I was doing, but I couldn't read it at the moment. And I clicked on it, and there was no explanation. It was just an article. There was no explanation for what the article was, why you sent it. The article, and I have it open on my computer now. The article says, and this is the topic of today's episode, it was from GQ.com. And the opening picture is of a hot spring erupting. And the article says, "Meet the Nutmaxxers obsessed with shooting bigger loads." And the subheading is, "Both porn and a growing interest in self-optimization are leading men on a quest for enhanced ejaculations." No explanation whatsoever. Just no context, just the article.
If I remember correctly, I sent this to you at about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So the reason you didn't read it was probably that you were still asleep.
Yeah, but I remember looking at it when I woke. It must have been when I woke up, looking at it and going, "What?" and then going back to sleep. But you gave me a little more context later. You said, "Hey, I think this would be cool to talk about. So can you read the article?" Well, first you said, "Can you read the article?" And I was like, "Why?" And then you said, "I think this would be cool to talk about." So I said, "Okay, let's do it." So today we're going to talk about Nutmaxxers who are obsessed with shooting bigger loads. And I'm going to read portions of the article. And then I also want to talk about some of the things that you wanted to point out about the article. You wanted to talk about, we're going to talk about what nutmaxing is, don't worry. And then we're going to talk about just people who are interested in it, people who may have heard of it, some of the safety issues with it, some of the things you can do if it's something that you or a partner wants to try. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read the first paragraph of this article, and then I want you to kind of explain to everyone what nutmaxing is.
Sure.
So the first paragraph of this article that I received at 6 o'clock in the morning. 6 o'clock in the morning.
It's a very normal thing for me to be reading at 6 o'clock. Sorry.
It's true, honestly.
I'm not sorry, actually.
It's true. It's normal for you.
Yes.
Your cookies have to be insane. So the first paragraph is, some of the most important discoveries in medicine came from brave people experimenting on themselves. Jonas Salk tested his polio vaccine on himself and his family. Isaac Newton poked a blunt needle into his own eye socket to understand how we see light. And using their own bodies as test subjects, the Redditors on r/come bigger loads have determined that a combination of zinc, pygium, L-citrulline, and lecithin, did I say that correctly?
I think it is lecithin, yeah.
Is the quote, holy grail of cum. Mm-hmm. So it says, hold on, I gotta read the second paragraph. There, 47,000 visitors are reading more than 600 weekly contributions concerning the best supplements for, apologies for what you're about to read, shooting ropes, monster loads, and, quote, Spider-Man-like webs, methods for, quote, cum training for volume, and how to turn your money shot into, quote, the big one. What turned all these men into citizen jizz scientists? A growing interest in male self-optimization, a pornified sense of what's normal, and a dearth of scientific consensus around the topic. So, Julie.
Yeah.
I just read all of that.
Uh-huh.
But can you tell us in your own words and give us some more information, what is nutmaxing?
So, I never heard it called nutmaxing before this article, which doesn't mean that it wasn't a thing or that that's not what it was called. It's just not what I had ever heard it referred to. There is nut, right? Which is like ejaculate, semen, whatever you want to call your emissions, which is most commonly associated with, but not 100% correlated to, when someone with a penis has an orgasm. Mm-hmm. And nutmaxing, as far as I can tell from what I've read and what I've talked about and what they talk about in this article, is efforts made to increase volume, pressure, and effectiveness of that emission. So, like, the desire to increase how much one is ejaculating.
So I read in my limited research of this, when you talk about effectiveness, you're not referring to effectiveness as in ability to make baby.
I am not. So this has nothing to do with sperm count or like quality of sperm, like at all. It's fully about the volume of the entire like semen, your whole ejaculate. Mm-hmm. This isn't to increase sperm count. It's aesthetic. Mm-hmm. As far as everything is, my understanding of it overall, which, like, when I say aesthetic, I don't mean that in like it's just aesthetic. Like, I'm not trying to hand wave it. Aesthetics is a major part of sexual interest and desire and engagement, but it is not meant, like, the goal isn't to deal with a deficit, generally speaking.
There's no nut minimum.
There's no nut minimum. Well,
nut minning.
There's, like, sure, there's a reality of, like, there is not enough sperm produced in order to effectively have a pregnancy. Okay, but that's not what this group of people would be referring to as, like, nut minning. Mm-hmm. This is about an aesthetic, like, a desire for, like, an aesthetic increase in volume.
Yeah, and there's people who, and there's people who are on r/come bigger loads, and they talk about this in the article, who actually have little glasses and they take these supplements, or they try these different techniques to maximize their nut. This video is not going to get monetized on YouTube, by the way. They take...
There are sex doctors on YouTube who are like talking about
Yeah.
this.
Well, they're probably making their money by sponsorships or things like that. But
Right. It's funny that, like, you know, we're also going to talk about this, but there are people like, this is the sponsors that they have are almost certainly the supplements that these people on Come Bigger Loads are taking.
Yes.
Right. So it's like a self-fulfilling.
Right. And there's no real, there's so many different factors from what I've read to increase your what am I seeing here? That you can shoot Spider-Man like webs, or that that allow you to get monster loads. So the supplements aren't even, they haven't gone through the scientific testing to prove their efficacy, or if it's just, you know,
And it's complicated, right? The current state of things being what they are, lots of things haven't been reviewed by the FDA. Lots of things haven't been regulated or haven't been researched, because all of that has to do with who's funding what. And that's not the conversation we're having today, but I do want to touch on that in the context of there's nothing inherently wrong with trying to figure out ways to feel better in your body, but like mitigating risk and understanding what you're doing, what you're putting in your body and how you're putting it in your body and those sorts of things. It's important to think about that.
So I do want to get into that, but first, before we get there, I want to talk about the things that people do. Okay. And then we can go in towards the end when we wrap up, we can talk about if it's something that you're interested in doing, or if it's something that your partner's interested in doing, then these are the things that you can do to mitigate that risk and just know the risks involved. But before we even get there, I want to talk about an interesting thing that I saw in this article. There's a few interesting things that I saw in this article. But one of them was my initial thought upon opening this and reading it was, one, why? And two, was this is a thing that men want to do because they're insecure. And that's where my immediate thought went. Men want to do this because there's no practical, if there's no reason for it, like, there's nothing quote unquote wrong with them, but it's something that they want to improve to feel better about themselves, right? That was just my initial narrow-minded thought process. And I read the article, and one of the first testimonials was a guy who wanted to Nutmaxx, there's got to be a better word for this, a guy who wanted to Nutmaxx for his girlfriend because she was into it. And I was like, oh, dummy, open your brain. But there was something here that I found really interesting. I want to talk to you about it. And I'm going to read this to you first because, one, it was a little funny. And I'll tell you why. I laughed at this. So this says, this is about Mike, 27 years old, who began trying to increase the size of his ejaculations in 2021 after seeing an ad for Semenax pills on a porn site. So he says, quote, "Of course I'm like, this is just bullshit," he says. But then I started reading a Reddit about it. I was just going on like, what are these supplements doing? Then he says, quarantine with his college girlfriend in her parents' beach house, there wasn't much to do but have sex. Mike, who, like others in this story, asked to use just his first name to protect his privacy, which is another thing we're going to talk about, struggled to keep up with her libido and desire to be ejaculated upon. Quote, "I feel drained. I feel exhausted. I feel like I can't satisfy this girl," Mike remembers thinking. "After once or twice a day, not much is coming out." So he turned to supplements. Probably for like 6 months, I was experimenting with just different stacks, combinations of supplements I would read about on Reddit, Mike says. A couple things about that paragraph there. It's interesting to me that he says, I feel drained, I feel exhausted, I feel like I can't satisfy this girl. It was, first of all, that was funny to me because just the thought of him, someone who's 27 years old, just going like this stress of going, please, no more, I can't do anymore.
Like
and then trying
in
to
Futurama.
Yes, yeah, death by snoo.
Yeah.
And I just the in my brain I created this scenario of this 27-year-old who can't complain to his 27-year-old friends because he's this is what we all wanted. And I got it. And oh, it's not what I want. And just him saying there's nothing left, I'm just spent, was funny to me. But then beyond that, him saying that I feel I'm exhausted, I'm drained, I feel like I can't satisfy this girl was so sad.
Does he have COVID? And I'm not saying that to be a smart aleck, but like there's a couple things I want to touch on there, right? Like one is, it is funny. It is also a reality, right? Like it is a really, really common experience where there is this narrative, this story, this social convention that we've decided that men are just all about it, and they always want to be doing it, and they just, anytime they're ready. And it's like, that's not reality. That's not, men aren't a monolith any more than any other group is a monolith. But there is that pressure to be sexually virile and to be ready to go and apparently to be able to put Spider-Man-like webs out every time you ejaculate, regardless of how many times a day you're having sex. It is a pressure that is a really, really common anxiety trigger for men sexually.
And the easiest thing to do in my brain, which is the hardest thing to do, the best way to handle this, which I understand is so difficult, like I can put myself in Mike's shoes, easiest thing to do is just talk about it. Mm-hmm. Just say, hey, I feel XYZ thing, this is tough. But I can also understand going, oh, that's a nightmare. Sure. But this reminds me actually of, and follow me here, stay with me. This reminds me of working in a movie theater. Hear me out.
I'm waiting for the journey.
We're going on the journey right now. Strap in. When I worked in a movie theater in a resort town at the beach, during the summers, we were never super busy during the summer because everyone was at the beach. However, when it rained, people who came down with their families didn't have much else to do. We were one of the only movie theaters in town, so they would often come in and just flood our movie theaters. Entire families, kids, they come in to see movies. And this was an extra double issue when we had a popular movie out. So we would just get overwhelmed with people coming in. And everyone, of course, wants popcorn. And they would come in and they would just get popcorn. And we had our popcorn popper, and we had a couple other reserve popcorn holders that we would have that we'd pull from when the popcorn kettle, whatever it's called, couldn't keep up. Well, we would get so busy that we would run out of everything. Mm-hmm. And the popcorn can only make popcorn so fast. And people would come up to us and they were like, we want popcorn. And I'm like, well, we don't have any. We've given out so much popcorn and we can only make so much at a time. And people be like, but we want more popcorn. Popcorn. I'm like, yes, but you got to wait for more popcorn to be made before more popcorn can come out.
Right.
So it just made me think of this guy, Mike, who, he's saying his girlfriend wants, she has a high libido and a desire to be ejaculated upon. There's two options here. She could have been being unreasonable, or he could have been in his own head thinking that he's disappointing her when he's really not, because she understands there's only so much popcorn you can make. So do you see how I got there with
I get it.
Okay. Popcorn
is semen in this analogy.
Semen is popcorn. So it made me think of why communication is so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And why education is so important, because it's important for her to understand there's only so much he can do There's only so much there's only so much popcorn in the machine. And for him to communicate that, and maybe he was just in his own head and she was like, yeah, I know. If you just, okay, so you don't have any popcorn. Do you have like, what was the candy? Squirms? Remember those?
Yeah.
Do you have like, so I think the communication and education are so important for things like this because so many issues can be addressed by just talking about it. And then you wouldn't have to go on Reddit and look for supplements that you don't know what's...
Well, and right, like, it's multifold, right? Like, yeah, communication every time. Every time I'm going to go, we got to learn how to talk about this stuff. We have to learn how to strip the shame away so that we can have a conversation that isn't rooted in a fear of emasculating oneself by saying, like, I there's no more to give. Right? Like that's a normal thing to have happen if you have a lot of sex in a very short period of time. Like the volume is going to go down. The machine can't keep up, so to speak. The popcorn machine.
Yes, the popcorn machine. Yes.
But
thank you.
But there's also so communication every time and education every time, because like supplements, okay, but supplements after a conversation that it is like something everybody wants. Does this guy even want it? Like, it's not clear in the way that he describes his experience that this is something he wants to be doing.
Right.
He describes it as a solution to a problem he has made up in his head. He did not confirm it with his partner, as far as we can tell in this story, that she felt some kind of way about the volume of his ejaculate. Just a thing that he decided he needed to do. And that there weren't any alternatives discussed. Like, there are a couple of lubricant brands that make a lubricant that has a similar viscosity, and they put it looks like cum. The point of it is that it looks like cum, and the idea is that it can contribute to the experience of cum play if ejaculate is maybe not part of your sex play, or if you want a more like an increased aesthetic of like a higher volume of cum, for instance. You can supplement with lubricant, which is a great tool to have in the bedroom anyway. So, but that wasn't part of the conversation. And so I'm not here to give a yes or a no on supplements. But I do think that for Mike in this case, like there was so much room to just have a conversation. And also, like, if you feel drained and exhausted, it doesn't sound like you're just talking about the amount of cum. Like, this is a larger conversation to have with someone. And, like, think about all of the kinds of sex play that you could be having that maybe don't involve the need to ejaculate. That, like, with the goal of sex play being like pleasure and restoration rather than like getting to the end and being like, I'm out. Like,
right. And that's kind of what I was getting at when I saw this article and I was like, why? And I don't mean why in a bad way. I mean, first of all, I was like, why did you send me this at 6 a.m? What is this? What is a Nutmaxxer? Sounds like something off of Mad Max. But my thing is the why, and I ask people this a lot about the why for certain things. And when I ask people the why, and I do this with friends, and I'm sure it's annoying. Guys, I'm very aware of how annoying I am. I know, okay? So I know. But I ask people their why for certain things, and I tell them, you don't have to give me an answer. I just want to put it in your head so you can come up with an answer yourself for certain things that you're doing. So if you want to come Spider-Man loads or Spider-Man, whatever it was, if you want to come bigger loads, why? Why are you putting in this much work to make this happen? And you don't have to answer me, but if the answer is just like, well, I like it. Cool. Okay, cool. But if your answer is, I feel drained and exhausted and I'm disappointing my girlfriend, it doesn't sound like you're having any fun doing that.
Well, and I think that there's no pun intended, but a slippery slope with why. Which is like, a lot of people don't, like, once you start down that path of like, well, why do I like? It is very, very, that walks a very close line to the sex negative shame stories. What's wrong with me that I like this? Why do I like this with the wrong tone becomes what's wrong with me. And so while I am pro exploring why, generally speaking, I always want to start with like, what you like is great. Like what you like, it doesn't have to be complicated, right? When you ask someone what their favorite dinosaur is, do you need like a justification for why it's their favorite dinosaur? Or can it just be, they got cool horns?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. Why do you want to have big, massive loads when you ejaculate? Because you like the aesthetic? Dope. Get after it. Have fun. But I do think exploring why is also a really essential and important thing because of that sex negative narrative that we're all marinating in. Again, no pun intended. In this society, right? Like the way that we are taught, like we're taught not to explore our eroticism. We're taught that all of our sex should be vanilla and it should look a certain way and be a certain way and only certain people should be doing it for certain amounts of time at certain ages, like the whole thing. It's really rough.
It's like we're all just lying on our backs and different things in the world, they're all giving us a shame bukkake. Pun very much intended.
Absolutely intended on that one. And that's so there's sort of the two sides of the why coin, where like why is an important question to explore, but there's so much value in exploring why because it gives you an opportunity to like be curious and know yourself and engage with your sexuality and like expand your attraction map and your desire map and try new things and have fun and experience pleasure. It is not, the goal of why is not, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Why am I like this?
I imagine it's similar to it's a difference between a curious, genuine interest why and a judgmental why when you're having a conversation with someone else. So if you were to tell me, oh, I'm a sex therapist, and I go, oh, why? It feels different than I'm a sex therapist. Why?
Exactly.
That feels different.
Yeah.
That feels like, whoa.
But most of the way that we talk about sex in our society creates why as the judgmental one.
Right.
So it's scary to explore. It's scary to check. And a lot of times when we start to look, all those stories pop up. Why are and in this article, right, so many of the men who are talking about why they're doing this, it's coming from a place of like virility and like masculinity and like wanting to this sort of like narrative that's been popular in our society recently about like hypermasculinity and like how to be that way, and this idea that like massive ejaculate loads is part of that.
Yeah, and you receive that message and then it's confirmed when you watch certain porn. In this article, they talk about Peter North, who is known for his
massive
load size.
Yes.
And it
sheer
says
volume of ejaculate.
Sheer volume of ejaculate. Just rivers and rivers of the stuff. Oceans. It says, the influence of pornography this is from the article. The influence of pornography on this space is unavoidable. Every man I spoke to cited porn as a part of why they wanted to increase their volume. Then says, quote, this is from a sex coach, says, if the majority of erotic content in our lifespan is porn, then we are naturally looking at our own life and making comparisons. What do you think about that statement?
Naturally is an interesting word. I mean, we are trained to compare. But I also, there's a couple things, right? Like, life imitates art, imitates life, imitates art, right? Like it's a feedback loop that chicken and egg, hard to find the start, right? Why is, Peter North such a popular porn star? Why do people want to see the rivers of cum? I mean, what is aesthetically pleasing, what is aesthetically pleasurable, what is desirable to watch and enjoy is not necessarily the same thing as what is pleasurable to experience.
So I want to take that and go to another topic that we were talking about, and that is the disconnect between what we see presented in a lot of pornography versus what people report to actually enjoying. Mm-hmm. And one thing that you talked about was facials.
Yeah. Facials are really popular in pornography.
Can we specify what a facial is, just for anyone who may? Let's not assume. We're not talking about the cucumbers on the eyes, and because that was very confusing to me as a kid. By the way, that those are called the same thing.
Do you remember when I brought this topic up to be like, I want to make sure we talk about this on the podcast, and I said I want to talk about face washes on the podcast. Yes. Which is a hockey term for when you rub your stinky glove all over your opponent's face.
But it could be a sex term if you make it a sex term.
Yes, we can create slang at any time.
Yes.
So a facial in this context is to dress one's face, the sexual partner's face, with ejaculate during what is often in porn called like the money shot. So it's like while ejaculation is happening, the ejaculate is hitting or washing the woman's face. Usually a woman, not always. It can be anybody.
Just a wash in semen.
Yes. And generally speaking, it is like the point of the shot is to see the receiver's face like very drenched and like dripping with ejaculate. And so in order to create that imagery, you need a pretty high volume release. And so you get this sort of you can see how this feedback loop sort of happens. Now the research suggests, and I should find the research and like drop a link to it at some point. But like the research suggests that the number of people who receive facials, like the percentage of people receiving facials in pornography versus the percentage of people who are requesting or expressing that they desire and enjoy facials is pretty disproportionate. That a much lower number of people are seeking them out. Not zero by any means. It is not an unpopular or there's nothing bad about it. It's just overrepresented in the pornography. And so if the large majority of how you're finding building your relationship to sex and sexuality is through visual, consumption of pornography, you're getting a misrepresentation of what's popular.
And I think that kind of, we should do an episode on that, by the way. And we've talked about it a little bit before in past episodes, the difference between sex as entertainment and sex in real life. And there's nothing wrong with sex as entertainment, just like there's nothing wrong with anything as entertainment. But we have to understand that it's not real life. I remember watching, I grew up on 90s action movies, and all the action stars would shoot their guns and they'd hold them like this at their waist. Mm-hmm. No one fires a weapon like that.
No.
But that's something that is just in movies. It's entertainment. There's things that we accept as just it's entertainment, and there's no need to be super accurate about it because it's entertainment.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we know it's entertainment.
Well, we know it's entertainment.
Yeah.
And so part of the challenge, right? And actually, I've been really wanting to run a workshop on this. So if you're watching and you are interested, I really want to do a workshop on having a critical eye for the media that we consume, so that we can begin to there's a lot of finger pointing and shame blaming and name don't watch this because the way that sex is shown in this is bad for these reasons. And it's what if we know it's bad and it's funny or fun and we enjoy it, but we're not blindly consuming it in a way that it's painting and instructing and informing how we are navigating our own understanding of sex and sexuality and what we're putting back out, right? So, because I think there's something to be said about like if the only stuff you're watching is like very limited perspective, right? Like Bridgerton, sorry Bridgerton, but like there's a lot of hopping on dry in that show. And I just, considering the time that it where in time it is meant to take place, the amount of tears and like then following that, like infections or other sorts of issues that would happen to those vaginas because they are not well lubricated for the sexual activities that they're participating in, always stresses me out. I could never, it wasn't sexy to me as a person, right? Like sometimes you get a job and then, you know, like maybe you're a lawyer and you can't watch Law and Order anymore because you're like, that's not. Sometimes you become a sex therapist and you can't watch sex on TV sometimes.
Or maybe you're a wrestler and you can't watch the wrestling scenes in Saved by the Bell anymore. Anyway, carry on.
So, but I think, so anyway, I would love, I really am very, I really want to run like a collaborative workshop about, you know, building media literacy.
Right.
So like around like sex and sexuality in media. But anyway, that I'm saying that to highlight this, which is like, what are you consuming? And if you've got this disproportionate representation that, and you're not getting any tools or skills to have these conversations with your partner, like if you're not having the conversations and you're like, so you're never questioning it, you're not having conversations, and you're just assuming that what's happening in porn is what's popular in sex, like you're sort of set up to be in this position where sex probably isn't super pleasurable.
Yeah, and I think that what we're doing is so important, not just because I'm a little biased because we're doing it, but what we're doing is so important because it's really important to have that other, that message that's closer to reality. Because what we're talking about is great for the platform that we have, but this will be boring in a movie.
Oh, for sure.
Any super accurate sex scene is probably going to be boring in a film, because the purpose of a film is to entertain, not to educate you. So when people complain about sex scenes being unrealistic, there's a fine line there, because on the one hand, I'm like, okay, some things are really like, I understand the complaint there. Like in Bridgerton, like your complaint makes complete sense. But if we watch it and we understand that, okay, this isn't real, or this isn't exactly true to life and it's not accurate, but it's not supposed to be. And you have other knowledge that you can recognize that and see it for what it is and either enjoy it or not. But you're not going, okay, that's how it's supposed to be. And I think that so many people only get that side of it. They only get that unrealistic side of it.
Well, and I think it's difficult. Like, sex is so expansive. It can be so many things. And you can put so many different kinds of bodies together in so many different ways. It's the coolest thing. Like, that's just, it's incredible that it is so expansive and it can be so many things. So it can be realistic in so many ways that, like, the attempts to create something that is quickly right? So like a goal of media very frequently is like, we need to quickly communicate something to a very broad audience.
Right.
And sex looks so different. Realistic sex looks so different from body to body to body to body, because everybody has different needs and everybody has different desires and different pleasures. So trying to communicate something very quickly to the broadest possible audience requires usually tab A, slot B, And like, that's not good or bad. It is not great because it's incredibly limiting. But it is understandable why it is done when we're thinking about it as like, the goal is to communicate that a sexual intimate moment has happened between these people to the broadest possible audience.
Yes.
Like, this is the most recognizable version of sex, and that's what we're trying to communicate to you happened.
Yes.
But that doesn't help all of the people with all of the bodies who are going, but that doesn't feel good for me. I don't have that part. I don't like people who, that's not the kind of sex that I want to be having. I want to do this. I have, 2 slots, no tabs, or all tabs, baby. Like, these are all options, and we aren't seeing that. We're seeing it more now than we used to. But even like, to come back to this idea of nutmaxxing, ejaculation is a way to communicate an incorrect myth about sex, right? Like that's the completion of sex. It's sometimes referred to in a lot of like the smut books as like completion. He did such and such to completion. And you're like, oh, then it's over? To be clear, very crystal clear as a sex educator in this moment, sex does not have to end when ejaculation happens. It can be at any point in the sexual escapade. But like, when it's communicated that way, right, to be able to make sure that you're able to hit that mark, so to speak, when you're thinking about sex as a performance, being able to present your clear completion, it's not clear, it's milky generally, broad range of normal there as well. But to hit that mark really represents that like performance side of sex instead of the pleasure and like enjoyment side of sex.
Right.
Experience side of sex.
One thing that I appreciate about reading up on this is they actually went out and talked to people who were, nutmaxxers.
Yeah.
And they talked to their partners. And a thing that I found really interesting is the people they talked to were not academic researchers. They had no interest in using euphemisms to describe what they were doing. And to me, that is hilarious. So there's a men's sexual health content creator who sells semen supplements. I'm not going to promote this person because I don't know them and I don't know their platform, so I don't want to be irresponsible and tell people to go get stuff from this person.
For sure, yeah.
But this person says, we have a debate between Team Tummy Pancakes and Team Bun Glazer. That's a reference to basically having such a large ejaculatory volume that it looks like a pancake on the stomach, or it looks like there's actually a glaze on the buns because the volume is so large. That's funny to me.
Yeah.
And there was also another person from Los Angeles whose name was Michael, who talked about him and his girlfriend, Lana, who enjoys participating in his experiments. She says it's very interesting, so she's into it. But what Michael says is, it's very simple, very succinct. And this is going to lead to one of the last things that I want to talk to you about with this. Michael says, quote, I always enjoy blasting my girl in the face, for lack of a better term. So I started to look for a solution to fix that, he says.
To fix...
So let me go back. Michael, a 39-year-old from Los Angeles, began taking supplements after an anti-hair loss pill left his semen watery. Okay. So he always loved, quote, blasting his girl in the face, for lack of a better term, which is hilarious to me because I feel like he sat there and thought for a minute, is there a better term? Now we're just going to go for it.
We're going with this.
So I started to look for a solution to fix that, he says.
Which is interesting because, okay, so it's interesting to me as a sex therapist in general because I would be asking a line of questioning here around what he's looking for. Is his concern that it's somewhat clearly represented here that his concern is that his semen is watery, but there's also like, if he wants to increase like his blast zone, Like that's generally going to fall more under like pelvic floor exercises.
He wants to go from a squirrel to a war turtle.
Right. Like if he's trying to hit that Pokemon evolution.
Yes.
Like that's more pelvic floor muscles to like increase pressure versus volume, right? But it sounds like for him, more of what he's actually saying is that the change in the consistency of his semen was like a side effect of a medicine he was taking, and he was really like bothered by that really like affected his self-perception and his enjoyment of his sex play.
I imagine if it's watery, it's like he used to be throwing a baseball and now he's throwing a piece of tissue. So it just kind of just goes when he wants it to just go. Yeah. Maybe. So another thing that I want to talk about, another testimonial or interview or statement is from someone named Marcus. I want to get your reaction to this. Marcus began increasing the size of his loads after a college hookup had a shocked reaction to his ejaculate. Quote, she started to gossip around campus and I got a reputation and wanted to get more of those reactions, he says. So I took supplements to make sure I could always perform when needed, end quote.
So there's a couple things, right? Okay. What's insinuated there is that like he started off as like a pretty high volume ejaculator. And then that got around and people started pursuing him for the experience of high volume release. So in that context, like, cool if everybody's good, right? Yeah. Like, there's not enough context there to know if Marcus feels fetishized. There's not enough context there to know if he's enjoying it. There's not enough context there to know, like, are the side effects of these supplements that he's taking causing other issues in other parts of his life. But, like, overall, like, a lot of the work that we are frequently doing is like encouraging people to deconstruct and like scrape out the corrosion that has been placed on us that sex is a performance and that it's about how we look when we're doing it, and it's about how we sound when we're doing it, and it's about all these things that are like performative and that we need to be, you know, have a certain thrust ability and have a certain ability to orgasm or squirt or do these things. And so a big part of our work is like scraping out that corrosion and creating space where someone can actually experience sex as an experience rather than a performance.
Right.
Now, if you want to experience performing sex acts, cool. And that's a thing that I think sometimes gets lost in the mix there, which is this idea of like, if this dude is enjoying and experiences pleasure from massive loads, Spider-Man web, and it's something that is like good for him, he's enjoying it, it's pleasurable, it's not like affecting his self-esteem or creating anxiety of like, well, what if I can't, right? Like, we had a different episode, we talk about like, if your desire to orgasm is anxiously coded, you will actually struggle to orgasm more. Right. So like, if that's not happening, if he's just having a good time and like, you know, doing tummy pancakes or whatever else, great. And like, that's a performance that he wants to be performing. If he's conscious of it, and it sounds like he really is, like he's conscious and aware that that's the thing that he's performing, and like it's not coming from a place of like social pressure. It's coming from a place of like, this is fun. Great. Like, absolutely, get after it, Marcus.
All right, let's okay, I have one more thing that I want to get your reaction to.
Okay.
So let's end on something a little more problematic.
Okay.
So we're going to go with problematic, and then we're going to end on some advice from you about some other things that we're going to talk about. So this is from the Reddit r/ComeBiggerLoads.
Okay.
And the title, it's one of the top posts on the subreddit. And the title is, "Hookup said my loads are disgusting, LMAO."
Okay.
So here we go. Buckle in, we're going on a journey. Was able to find a new chick. Wait, I got to read this in the tone that I think it's written in, that I read it. Was able to find a new chick that was down to fool around. Luckily, we weren't able to meet up for a week, so I was able to save up and then got some really good edging in before seeing her. Luckily, she didn't want to smash, but was willing to give me head, so I was able to sit back and let it build even more. Pretty good so far? Mm-hmm. Finally got to the point of no return and tried to relax my pelvic floor as much as possible so my pre-cum would leak out like piss. And when I tell you I absolutely soaked her. I finished shooting on her and she straight up told me that my cum shot didn't even look real. I said, hot, right? And she goes, no, honestly, that was disgusting. When I left, I was kind of self-conscious, but on the ride home, I realized how hot it was and that her reaction is exactly the type of stuff I was looking for. I hope she tells her friends about the guy with the nasty freak loads. Laugh emoji, laugh emoji. What say you?
Come on, man.
Here's one of the comments. Don't listen to her. Big loads are fucking hot.
So there's sort of a side conversation here that's probably for another time about like men performing sex to impress other men, like straight men specifically. Like, to be clear, men who identify as very straight doing performative sex behaviors to impress other men who identify as very straight. Mm-hmm. That's like a phenomenon that I think is worth talking about. Mm-hmm. That's a little of what I'm hearing here, because nothing about this suggests that he had any interest in pleasing, like having a shared pleasurable experience with this woman, or chick, as he
there was something
her.
So to me it was, he got so excited that the person he was with had a horrible time.
Yes.
And he wants to make more people have horrible times. That's what he loves, is what he communicated is, this person had a horrible time. She was disgusted. I love that.
Yeah. And like, what's upsetting about that to me is like, if that's your kink, that's a non-consensual situation that's really fucked up. Mm-hmm. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a humiliation kink or a degradation kink, or like, that's great. Like, enjoy, again, right? Sex is about having a shared pleasurable experience. Maybe you're sharing it with yourself. Maybe you're sharing it with one other person. Maybe you're sharing it with many other people. But it's a shared pleasurable experience. And if you've negotiated, you've had a conversation about what you are like what gets you aroused and what turns you on and what you're into, and if what you're into is degrading someone, well, there are lots of people with degradation kinks. So like, you just gotta sort of find you remember the worksheets you used to do as a kid where it's like, find one over here and find one over here and match it up?
Yes.
That's what we're looking. You like to degrade people. This person has a degradation kink. That's a match.
And I think that is one of the things that people don't realize they can do, right? Is he really likes the idea that she didn't like it. You can find someone who will consent to that. And so there's one of the comments here, a lot of the commenters are saying, hey, find someone who likes it in like an encouraging way.
Right.
And some of them are, some the comments are all over the place. It's Reddit.
Right.
But someone says, yeah, I mean, it's fair to say that not all women are into that. And he goes, oh, for sure. I think most women probably do find it a turnoff. This is the original poster. Mm-hmm. And in another comment, someone says, I'd kill to see a chick's reaction to getting solo bukkake, LMAO. And the original poster said, oh, it's the best, man. I'm hoping I can find the chick that's willing to let me record and share someday. So he is hoping to find someone who will let him record it and share it, which kind of goes to your thing about performing for other men.
Yeah.
But also, if you're with someone who hates this, you disappointed them, why would they let you record it and share it with other people?
Well, so there's a couple things going on.
Unless they're into this as a kink and you've agreed to that.
Right. Like, there's a couple things going on with this guy that, to me, just suggest that, like, he hasn't, to go back, like, he hasn't really asked why. Mm-hmm. Like, does he like women? It's unclear. Which is, you know, and, like, I want to be clear when I talk about the idea of, like, someone who has, like, is sexually aroused by degrading people, pairing up with someone who is sexually aroused by degradation. Like, that is an ongoing, negotiated, consensual relationship where two people are, like, very clearly and frequently revisiting and communicating openly. I would encourage, with the support of a sex therapist, to create a space where that feels enjoyable for everybody.
By the way, to interrupt you for a second, Julie is currently accepting new clients.
I am.
Okay, we gotta mention that at least once an episode. Carrie, continue.
But here what we have is someone who I don't know that he knows, and like that would be part of what I was trying to figure out is, like, does he know that he wants that? Because it's not clear, and it's not clear. It doesn't sound like it's clear to him because he's saying different things and different answers.
Right.
And so, you know, the thing with this, I don't think I even really talked about the stuff about nutmaxing that, like, is really interesting to me, which is, like, what's happening for you, the person who is doing the ejaculating? Like, they don't talk about it that like, in the article they talk a little bit about it from that place of, like, it made me feel better about myself and it made me feel this and that, and it's like, that's really cool. Is that a shortcut? Do you want to figure out why you have this inadequate feeling about your masculinity that is almost certainly coming from social narratives?
That's your therapist brain going, like,
right.
This guy, why is it so exciting for you to do a thing that your partner hates?
Yeah.
Okay, the shortcut is to just blast unsuspecting people with way more bigger lows than they were expecting that looks to them, they said it doesn't even look natural or it looks unreal, and you love that. So this makes me feel good. Cool. Okay. Can we unpack that?
Yeah. There's also a reality of, like, I don't love her response either, right? Like, I don't, when we're being vulnerable when we're having sex.
Yeah.
Like, it's a vulnerable, disgusting's maybe not a word that you want to use in the middle of, like, a sexual interaction. Now, again, like, did this even happen?
That's
right?
the other
Reddit.
thing. Yeah.
And this guy, you know, who knows? It's Reddit. That being said, like, there's communication that's not happening in all facets of this. And I just, this one bothers me because it sounds like he doesn't like women as, like, people. It bothers me. It immediately wants me I want to, like, be like, cool, this was a good talk. We're going to go talk about straight men who perform sex acts to impress other straight men now, because that's really, you know, interesting. But so it's got my brain running in, like, 40 directions.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
But the volume of your ejaculate is a personal preference. Generally speaking, whatever you're working with, you know, if you've had a recent workup and your doctor says you're good, whatever you're working with is working for you. And that, like, the range of normal is no pun intended, huge. You just have a wide range of normal. But if you want more volume, reflect on why.
And also, if you're with someone who has more volume, as you pointed out, maybe let's leave the word disgusting out of.
Yeah, but I would say, like, if you're with somebody and their volume very suddenly increases, it's worth a conversation.
Yeah.
Which I do think is, you know, where we had said we maybe wanted to end, which was, like, how to encourage conversations.
Yes, before we get there, one thing I want to point out that I find particularly weird, and I'm going to use that word weird because this is legitimately weird. When someone said, when he said that he thinks most women find it a turnoff, the original poster, someone replied, in my experience, most are 9 times out of 11. What a weird number. 9 times out of 11.
I mean,
most people say 9 times out of 10. Just say 10.
I would suggest that this person has had 11 partners.
That's right. Which was, it was oddly specific to me. So just say 10. Just say 9 times out of 10. That's the saying. No one says 9 times out of 11.
What's the percentage of 2 out of 11? It's like not a... Boy, listen. Math?
Our teachers told me you're not going to have a calculator with you all the time. But I'll have Google. 81.82%.
So it's 19%. 2 out of 11 is 19%.
I guess.
Right? We are not keeping this in.
18.1818182%.
So 18% of people in this person's very small subset experiment, still 18% of people enjoy receiving, like being a participant in a sexual activity that involves a high volume of ejaculate.
Or he's just been with 11 people.
Right, which is like, but still, even in that small subset experiment, you've still got 18% of his partners enjoyed the high volume that he was bringing to the bedroom.
Good. I was
going to say table.
But, I mean, he could have brought it to the table. You don't know where it was.
I don't know where it was. You can have sex anywhere. Go, you.
Yes, so... And that's where we can that's where we can end on. And I want to leave with something useful. We've done so much useful, but I don't want to leave on a complaint about someone or Reddit. So there have been people who have been watching this or listening to this who are curious and maybe interested in nutmaxing.
Sure.
So there may be someone who's interested in maxing their own nut, or suggesting that someone else maximize their nut, or want to cum bigger loads, or be the recipient of a cummed bigger load.
Sure.
So what would your advice be to, not even getting into the specifics of to potential safety of supplements, or whether or not you should do supplements, whether or not you should do one of the many other techniques you may find on r/cum bigger loads, in terms of diet and exercise and things like that. What would your advice be to just opening the line of dialogue, having the conversation to someone who is interested in bringing this up? Because I feel like this would be a difficult thing to bring up. This would feel awkward, as most of these conversations do. So what would your advice be to someone to open up that conversation? Like, if they're with someone and the person finishes, do you go like, is that it?
Let's not do that.
That all you got?
Right. So, well, I think first of all, you highlighted the reality that for many people, most of the time these conversations feel awkward. They feel uncertain about how to talk about them, or what to say, or how to bring it up, or when to bring it up. And like, one piece of advice that I think is really essential across the board for like any conversation about sex is don't have it during sex. And generally speaking, your bed is for 2 things: sleep and sex. That's it. Just those 2 things, which, all of us are looking at each other going, we may or may not have our phone in bed with us. We may or may not have a TV in the bedroom. All those things. Well, what I'm saying, that's a different conversation that we could definitely have. But what I'm saying in this moment really is, don't have that conversation in the same place that is meant to be like a peaceful, enjoyable, pleasurable space for you. It's very safe. It's very like, it should be treated as a sanctuary. That's not the place to have a conversation necessarily. Generally speaking, like, come out into your living room, sit in your car. Don't sit in the car. Just because then you're kind of trapped in there if you're driving somewhere, and if you need to like push pause because the conversation gets heated, you don't have that ability. So like, nowhere where you're trapped.
Like, don't have it on a boat.
Right.
Because of the implications.
But like, have a comfortable space, you know, make sure that you have time, right? I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about because they want the conversation to be over. They want to be on the other side of it. So they're not thinking about the fact that like, it doesn't have to be a one-time conversation. You don't have to get it all out, no pun intended. You don't have to get it all out all at once. You can kind of have it piecemeal. You can take breaks. But so that kind of setup of it is like, have time, be relaxed. There's not a perfect time, but there are wrong times, right? So like, don't have it when you're super tired. Don't have it like after a really difficult day at work. Like, find some space in your life or manufacture some space in your life if you're struggling to find it. From there, I think a big part of it is just it's practice. It takes practice to talk about this stuff. I talk about this stuff with ease because I went to school for it and because I do it every day as my job. But when you're talking with a partner, like, acknowledge the vulnerability of it. That's a big piece of what many of us don't do is we want it to be easy, but we're being vulnerable. We're asking for something that we like. We're expressing a curiosity in a space, specifically that space of sexuality, that socially we're told we're not supposed to be curious. We're told we're already supposed to know what to do. We aren't supposed to talk about it. We aren't supposed to explore or get creative. And so when we're coming to this conversation, we're going against all those rules.
Coming to this conversation.
No pun intended. And so, like, acknowledging the discomfort and acknowledging the vulnerability, being able to say to somebody like, hey, this is I feel awkward bringing this up, but I'd really like a couple minutes to talk about something that I read on the internet. And just kind of from the jump, setting like the understanding that there's discomfort there and you feel scared or uncomfortable and unsure, and that's okay. And acknowledging that that's part of the conversation makes the conversation easier.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that's how you have the come bigger loads conversation. And that's our episode on nutmaxing. I think that we've maximized the nutmaxing conversation.
It's a pretty maximized conversation.
Yeah.
I think I do want to say, if you're interested in nutmaxing, generally speaking, one of my recommendations is always going to be get a checkup, have a conversation with your doctor about supplements you're considering taking, and, you know, maybe have a conversation with a sex therapist about why you want to maximize your nut. It could be awesome for you. It could be a really great, like, addition to your sexual repertoire, but it could maybe also be connected to some things that are interfering with, for you, like your enjoyment of your sex life. And a great place to work through those obstacles is with a sex therapist.
And when you're done maximizing your nut, you can maximize your views on the Bedroom Brainiacs at the Center CD's YouTube channel. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on TikTok, and we also have a newsletter that you can subscribe to. Just click the link either below this video, or if you're watching a clip, click it in our bio. The links are everywhere. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all the things that every YouTuber tells you to do when you watch their videos to support us. You can support us so much, and it doesn't require money.
Yeah, those things do. It is the thing I joke about the most of like and subscribe, but it really does make a huge difference. It really is the thing that like gets this conversation to more people.
Yes, please like us. So that'll do it for this episode of the Bedroom Brainiacs podcast. We hope you learned something.
Yeah.
So, bye. You're now tuned into the Barkley Cast.
Hi, Barkley. And yes, he is absolutely named after Sir Charles.
And Sir Saquon. Say hi to all the people. Oh, his purrs.
He's doing a good job.
Yeah.
You're doing a good job.
Look at your eye booger.
Gross.
Oh, I got it.
It's been bothering me all day, so I'm glad you got it.
All right, buddy. I still got another edit to do.